I also had the chance to speak to former Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel-Powell to talk about the wins and big losses for Democrats on election night. Here's our conversation. Congresswoman, thank you so much for joining us here on Impact once again.
Always a pleasure, Jackie.
Well, Republicans had predicted a red wave. It didn't happen across the country, but it did happen in the state of Florida. In your estimation, what happened?
Look, what happened in this midterm election is what I think we've all been sounding the alarms on, which is a lack of party infrastructure, a lack of investment, a lack of outreach. Donald Trump was very smart when he moved his residence down here to the state of Florida. And ever since 2016, they have been doing that outreach that is so important for voters across the state. But let's not forget, Jackie, there are a few things that I think people are forgetting to mention. And one of those is that DeSantis passed a congressional map, actually violating the state constitution, redrawing the congressional maps to give 3 additional Republican districts for the House of Representatives. So we lost a balance here in the state of Florida for representatives in Congress. That's why you see these red districts down here in South Florida. Maria Elvira Salazar, that district was Donna Shalala's, as you recall. It included Miami Beach. What did DeSantis do? He actually took Miami Beach out of that district. So that significantly tilted that district towards a Republican vote. That is not democracy, Jackie. That is not having balance in our state.
Regardless of the redistricting, the governor did win this election by close to 20%. And it's been 20 years since Miami-Dade in particular went red. And it did once again. It's one of the largest counties in the state, extremely diverse, as you mentioned. What do you believe resonated with voters here?
Well, Jackie, again, one of the things that, and I'm a numbers person, believe it or not, and I've been looking at the numbers, and our turnout was 10 points below what we saw back in the midterms in 2018. DeSantis did win this district, this county, Miami-Dade County, which usually goes for the Democrat, but he did not get a significant turnout of voters from Democrats. What we saw is that he obtained Republican voters. He got some of those independent voters, but Democrats stayed home. And that's the reality.
Why do you think that happened?
And that's exactly the question that we need to ask ourselves. Why did they stay home? Was it because there wasn't enough outreach, or is there apathy? Or are they not inspired by the Democratic Party? Why are they not inspired, Jackie? Because we are actually the epicenter and ground zero for attacks and the disinformation coming from Republicans. Now, look, I'm a solid Democrat. I am not a socialist. I'm not a Marxist. It's been shameful to watch Marco Rubio use those words to attack strong women in politics here in the state of Florida, like Val Demings, other Democrats as well. What we want is to represent families in Washington, D.C. and work to expand access to health care. The issues that resonate for Floridians down here are issues that Democrats focus on.
You mentioned, some of the attacks and calling other people socialists, but it happened on both sides, specifically in the race for District 27, which was Maria Elvira Salazar and Annette Tadeo, and they both used that term, which this community is hypersensitive to.
Yeah, and that's correct, Jackie. And I have to say that voters from all sides really are tired of those attacks. I mean, I have to tell you, I traveled across the country and there were so many attack ads from both sides, and people are really tired of the division and the polarization. I think it's time for everyone, right? For everyone to talk to the electorate and ask them what is it that they need for their elected officials to do. That's what's at stake here. That's what's on the line. And unfortunately, because of the lack of good information, we are now seeing a state that is going to be supporting extremists in Tallahassee. And I'm extremely concerned about that. And I think that we need to do a lot of work to once again bring some balance, some unity, stop the polarization, and work for the families here in the state of Florida.
You are Hispanic, and the Hispanic vote has always been crucial for who wins the state of Florida. You're also a Democrat and a woman. Why did the message not reach Latinos in Florida?
There was no investment, Jackie. It was really a negligence by the national party and also by the state party. I can tell you that when you look at these numbers, DeSantis and the Republican Party spent over $200 million communicating with the electorate in this midterm cycle. Democrats, I think, barely surpassed 20 million, and you can't come and participate in these elections without the proper investment to communicate your message directly to the voters. I'm a Latina, and I can tell you, I'm a proud Latina Democrat. I came to this country for opportunities, to work hard, to provide safety for my family. That's why we come here. And Republicans don't represent our values. Democrats do. The problem is the brand in the state of Florida has been destroyed by Republicans and by disinformation. But Democrats, Latino Democrats, Jackie, all over the country, in Wisconsin, in Colorado, in Nevada, in California, in Minnesota, in Michigan, they're coming out for Democrats. I've been traveling the country. This is an outlier, and we need to really understand why we are losing the way that we have been for many years here in the state.
You mentioned the messaging of the Democratic Party. Many people have started to point fingers. The head of the Democratic Party of Florida, Manny Diaz, one of those targets. Do you believe it is warranted?
When we have issues in my family, we discuss them at home in the privacy of our home, and we make decisions on how to move forward. And that's how I've always operated. I refuse to point fingers at anyone directly, because I think everyone bears some responsibility, right, Jackie? I mean, including companies that are here in the state of Florida, including organizations. I mean, I think that if we want to continue to provide opportunities for families in Florida, if we want to all work together to lower the cost of living, to make sure that we attract business investments here in the state of Florida, we all have to come to the table and figure out how to do that. I mean, I refuse to point fingers, but a lot of us have to have very difficult conversations and make decisions on how we're going to move forward.
You sound like a politician, so you know I have to ask the inevitable question: if you are going to run again.
Look, I am not going to make any decisions right now. The issue that I've been working on for many years now is the issue of gun safety. I will continue to do that as a senior advisor for Giffords. I'm very proud of the work that we've done. It's a top issue for Latinos here in the state and all over the country. And we'll see what the future holds. Right now, the most important thing is good quality of life for families that live here in my state. My children are growing up in the state, and that's my priority.
And we're going to leave it there. Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel-Powell, thank you so much for taking the time and talking to us. We always appreciate it.
Thank you, Jackie.